My name is Jacob Adams. I'm a fitness and leadership coach. I help people just like you achieve more and get to the next level. Have you ever wondered if somebody was in fact good for you or a positive influence in your life, or whether you should continue to hang out with them, or maybe they invited you somewhere and you wondered if you should go because you didn't know if going was in your best interest for your healthy goals, your good goals, your highest level goals? I know just last night I was invited to give someone a ride. This person was a woman, and she said, "Hey, listen, I want to go out." And I said, "Well, you should go out." She's like, "What are you doing?" Well, I was just calmly, patiently, or I was just watching a movie, very low key. And she goes, "Well, maybe you could give me a ride. I work at a strip club." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to go to a strip club, so I'm going to go ahead and decline," right? And then she followed up with, "Well, maybe you could just give me a ride." And so a part of me was a little bothered by it. The assumption that I would actually give this person, go out of my way to drive to this person and then give them a ride to their place of work, which was a strip club. The reason I think it bothered me was that you could say, I felt like, wow, like it's late at night. This is not the kind of typical, request you give somebody. You don't want to just assume that someone wants to give you a ride to a strip club and sort of feel used. So I was like, is this person trying to use me? And assume that I would say yes? Is that the message that I've given to the world, that I would, one, be open to such a request? And so it got me to thinking. And I do something called the stack with the Warriors Way. It's a way of analyzing a trigger. And not many things had triggered me, or it was the newest trigger on my mind, meaning it was the only thing that I was like, what? So it wasn't a big trigger. I wasn't really triggered significantly, but it was one that I was like, well, what's the message here? What is the underlying message to this request? And why do I want to tell this person something funny or something to sort of give them a quick-witted response? I didn't say anything really for a while, but a part of me wanted to snap back some sort of retort or some rebuttal. And I was like, well, clearly this is not a big bother to me, but it's a little bit of a bother. So I was just, again, the person was like, well, I was thinking maybe you could just give me a ride to the strip club, because I had declined going. And so then this morning I woke up and I began processing it through the stack. So the first trigger was something like, would you give me this person wants me to give them a ride to a strip club to use me. I felt used. That's all they want, just for me to drive in my car, go all the way to say, well, you have a good day at work. There's Lyft, there's Uber that can affordably take someone to work or to a job like that. They don't necessarily need me. So I woke up and I processed it. And what I found was that it was basically just a temptation, I think, of sorts. A temptation to lure me into this misbehavioral aspect of mine. Meaning, I've been doing really good with the Warriors Way, becoming a better person, meditating every day, writing my memoirs, doing my YouTube videos. And here's this weekend comes along and I'm just sort of being invited to a strip club. And I don't think I would have just said, hey, yeah, I'm going to take you to a strip club, have a good day at work, it's late at night. I probably would have wanted to at least go in or something, and I'm being very sincere here. That's probably what, I just didn't see it, but I was like, then it was a rare occasion. This person is not someone I talk to daily or whatever. So it was sort of out of the blue. It was out of the blue. And I'd already declined, there was already well, I'm going to go ahead and pass. And the person was like, well, maybe you could just give me a ride then, you see? So I came to the conclusion that in life, when we are on the path to a better result, a more wholesome, more disciplined view, a more disciplined way of living, that's when we're going to get invited to do something that is not so good for us in the long term. Maybe a little fun, maybe I would have seen this person dance or something like that, or I would have gone So let's play it out. Let's just say I would have said, okay, I'll go. So I'm visualizing, I'm driving, maybe who knows how far away, maybe 20 miles to go get the person, maybe 15 miles to get the person, and whatever, maybe a 30-mile trip all when it's all said and done, right? And then I'm gonna go inside and say, well, I'm already here. You can get me in for free, maybe. I don't know. I'll just go in with you. And I think a part of me would have, to be quite blunt, I'm not really into strip clubs. I think they're a little sad because I feel that a lot of the people that do dance there are, on some ways, just giving men fantasies. Like, there's no real sincere attraction, and the men there are kind of sad because they're just trying to deal with their pain and their boredom and their loneliness, and so it's like this really weird dynamic. Like, nobody's really happy to be there. So that's why I don't like them. It's sort of this very depressing scene for me, to be quite blunt. I mean, that's why I declined. I was like, I just find it to be pretty sad and depressing. It's not really the scene, and it's not even a judgment. I just sincerely think it's a pretty sad place to be. Like, I mean that fully. I think it's an okay place to get some pretty cool soundtracks, because people typically dance to songs they're emotionally charged to. That's a little insider. So I did wonder what songs this person strips to. I was like, I'll be quite blunt there. I was like, well, I wonder what songs they dance to. Believe it or not, that would be my most morbid curiosity. There's like, I wonder what kind of songs they dance to. In any case, so playing that out is why I declined. I was like, that's not going to end up like a positive thing for me. So with the Warriors way, I've set 4 new targets. 1 is to get closer to God, as you can see, apply for Kriya Yoga. 2 is to, I'll use this finger. 2 is to get closer to get a ruby leadership pin, which is why I wear this ruby ring, or ruby colored ring. 3 is to get closer to any woman that is at my match, meaning find my match. Since I'm single, is develop a dating life that is more healthy, right? And so that's where I saw, like, that's not a healthy dating life. I can't see myself liking to date a stripper, or like thinking that's going to go anywhere. So there was already an intuitive. So again, it's not a judgment. Someone can say, well, there's always going to be a counter. Someone's going to say, well, Jacob, no, that probably would have ended up good for you. You would have had a perfect night with a stripper, and you would go to the beach the next day and talk about life and bond and eat some vegetarian meal or something. You get the idea. Like, there's always a counter, okay? This isn't about judgment as far as this person shouldn't be stripping and blah, 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 blah. This isn't about countering the person's qualities. This is about, would that have been a good move for my 4 targets? And the other one is to grow in my career, being, balance, and then body. Okay, so then get in better shape. Okay, so also there's drinking at strip clubs. So I just didn't see that would get me closer to one of my 4 targets, and so I declined. Or actually, I just didn't say anything about the ride anymore. I was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. I'm not even engaged this show. So that was the big, victory for me, because I was down to hang out with somebody or a friend or something, but not, and as exciting as it could sound to potentially hang out with somebody that's working the night and, out there in the party scene, I just don't see that would truly fulfill me. And my biggest victory was seeing that unalignment and the depth and the potential, downward spiral that could lead to, because maybe I would do it again. If you do it one time, maybe you'll do it again. Maybe you're gonna go to the strip clubs again, and then maybe you'll find something you like about strip clubs. And see what I'm saying? Like, there's a value system that you could change. That might seem like I'm going too far, but I'm not making this video talking about getting to the next level, being fully transparent for someone to judge it or have a counter. I'm simply saying that in life, we are going to get invitations to places that aren't necessarily in our best interest for the long term, for the short term, long term, but may seemingly seem a little enticing at first. And I think that's the biggest growth that we as a people are making, is that we're putting away the short term quick fix sizzle in the pan, and we're wanting something more substantial now as people. Everybody wants something more substantial, whether it's a substantial career, substantial relationships, substantial piece. So everybody's looking for something a little bit more substantial. No one's looking for just whatever it takes to get by through the moment, because they're found that it's being understood that that's just sort of an illusion, a fantasy. Nobody wants to get something that doesn't hold ground or merit or a long-term growth. And that's what we're looking at now, is how do I obtain a more long-term growth, cement down a foundation, habits, mindsets that can really yield me a significant quality of life. Okay, so today I'm going to share with you some of the key ideas to identify, you could say, toxic friends, friends that are going to lead you down a world of temptation, toxic, tempting friends that don't necessarily care if you reach your maximum objectives, your targets. They don't really care. They have their own, they may not even have their own targets. That's a good identifier there. Does this person even have their own targets that they sincerely care for at a deepest level? So the first thing you want to do is ask yourself, what is this person's attitude? In other words, when you're invited somewhere by somebody, ask yourself, what is this person's attitude? Is this person's attitude one of positivity, growth, positive mindsets, sacrifice, generosity, good attitude? Just is their attitude something that you could want to emulate on some level and share with your family, who you care about? Would you want to bring that person around people that you care about fully because you're impressed with their attitude? That's a good question to ask, okay? 2, what is likely going to escalate with this person? You know, I have friends that I have met people in my workplace, friends that they like to party, they like to drink every day, they like to smoke cigarettes or anything else every day, they like to pop a pill every day. In other words, and if you hang out with those people too long, they may start rubbing off on you. Just like in this situation, I may have wanted to, like I said, go into the strip club, and so I avoided that situation altogether. And, you know, I just felt like it was completely out of place to be asked, number one. But number 2, it's like, that, what's likely to escalate? It's likely going to be some kind of, you know, weird escalation of a childhood wound and adaptive adolescent behavior where I'm drinking and hanging out, staying up late. And there's a reckless, hedonistic sort of vibe is going to manifest, right? That's likely to escalate in that situation. So what's likely going to escalate if you hang out with this person in question? Is this probable escalation going to get me closer to my targets or further? In other words, it helps to have 4 targets or 3 targets or main targets or 1 main target, however you want to look at it. But ask yourself, is hanging out with this person, if it escalates in a certain way, which you visualize, is this likely going to get you further or closer? For me, I like to date a woman that has higher standards, is not dancing, you know, is not going to strip clubs. So that would, to me, would likely get me further away from that. It would get me further away from what I'm looking for. So I didn't say anything, right? Makes sense? So also, again, going back to friends, if they're partying too much, is this likely to get you further away from your objective is to get in better shape? Is it likely to get you further away from getting in better shape? Is it likely to get you further away from achieving growth in your business? Okay. Sometimes it's better to ghost a person like this than to engage. In other words, understand that sometimes you just have to ignore people, and that is a great solution. I think one of the best reasons to ghost somebody is when you're just like, you don't know. If all the other 3, they have a bad attitude, it's going to escalate to something you don't like. It's going to escalate to something that you see is not good for you. And you're like, instead of saying, what, are you crazy? Like, instead of engaging, sometimes ghosting and completely ignoring somebody is a healthier situation. It may be considered rude sometimes, but sometimes it's actually, yeah, that's actually a very good response. There's no response. Establish a boundary and then respect your own boundary. In other words, you may need to tell this person in question, hey, you know what? In this kid's situation, I don't want to go to a strip club. You know, that could be what you need. I don't want to go to a strip club. And if that person brings it up again, they're disrespecting the boundary you established, right? Establish the boundary, and then maybe they're like, you know what? Okay, I can respect that. Make sense? Sometimes it's not, that person's not necessarily aware of how they're coming across. They just need you to check them and say, look, that's not for me. Okay? And then respect your own boundary. Once you set a boundary, respect it. It doesn't mean you've got to be a perfect saint every day of your life. It means that once you establish a boundary, respect it and let that boundary open up new life for you. Be open to new friends. Once you've established your boundary, be open to new friends and new paths to support a healthy agenda. What that means is once you've chosen to walk away or give this, say no to this, be open to the newer path, because that closing off this door, this energy is likely going to open up other possibilities, maybe doors that you got to walk through. Maybe keep your mind open to other possibilities, other relationships likely around the corner, because you're creating a vacuum of sorts. So because you're closing this door and not letting this manifest, something else can manifest in its space. Okay, like one of my mentors said, he said, you can't force a relationship. All you can do is create space that would allow one to be created. It's create the space that would allow one to be created. And so what I've seen is that typically in life, when we are encountered, when we do encounter a toxic friend or a friend that tempts us or lures into a life of party or sin, or however you want to say it, it's usually that they themselves are lost, without targets, without direction, without a backbone and self-control. And ultimately, they just sort of lure us into their habits, and slowly but surely now we have two people manifesting those habits, and that's going to create more momentum in that direction. Okay, and that's from a sober-minded perspective. So keep that in mind, that that's sort of the most thing that's going to happen, or why it's difficult to walk away from individuals or situations like that. Okay, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Potentially, you've said no or declined or ghosted somebody that you thought was just kind of lure you into doing things like promiscuous activity, doing drugs or partying, or whatever it was. It's going to lure you down a path to derail you from your targets. I'd love to hear your story or something. Maybe you have a question on this. I'd love to answer your questions. Comment below. And this is Jacob Adams. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.